Yo, what is up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a tier list for anime fights. Now, before we get started, I would just like to say, before we get into the list, let me explain a little bit about my thought process behind putting these matches where I put them. Now, I'm considering each of these fights individually without taking into consideration the impact on the series, the emotional backstory of the fight, like all that external baggage that you could put onto a fight. Like, I don't care about any of that. I care about what happened in the fight, what went down, what's the physicality of it, what actually happened is what I'm trying to get at, what I'm trying to get into. So, things like, oh, that's the first time he did this transformation, or, oh, wow, but like there's this really important backstory to it. Don't care about any of that. Only ranking the fights themselves. Now, getting right into it, let's get into the D tier. I don't know if you could really see down there. We've got, Sandy versus Mr. 2. That one was alright. Maybe it deserves C tier. Usopp versus Luffy, that one actually wasn't great. If you take away the emotional aspect of it, like what it meant for the story, because I remember when I did the One Piece fight tier list, I did take that into account and I put it much higher. But if we're talking about the actual fight, it's D tier. And Aokiji versus Akainu, obviously that's obviously a great fight, probably one of the best fights in the series. But we never saw it, so I can't put it anything higher than D. It's just a story. It's just a story about it. It never was actually shown in any capacity. So obviously we're not going to go through all these C tier fights. Just a quick run through of most of them. We got a lot of Attack on Titan fights. I don't think they're all that great. We got a lot of. Let's look. There's a couple of Fairy Tail fights. As much as I love Fairy Tail, a lot of Fairy Tail fights are probably C tier. And there's a lot of really, really good fights in C tier. But being in C tier doesn't mean I think they suck. Like, not in the slightest. I just think it's very good, and that's about it. Or they're also very good fights that didn't have like a solid conclusion. Like, let me see if I can find one that's a good example of what I'm talking about. I don't know if Ace versus Blackbeard is here in C tier. Roger versus Whitebeard is in C tier. That's because we never got the full actual fight. That's the only reason I have them in C tier. Obviously, they would. If we saw the whole fight, they would, again, deserve to be way higher. I got Madara versus the Shinobi Alliance, because that wasn't really a fight. That was more of like a one-sided beating than an actual fight, although it was obviously very cool. A lot of the Espada captain fights are in C tier, like Halibel versus Toshiro, Soifan versus Baragon. They're okay. I mean, they're good. They're good. I'm not going to say they're not good. Stark versus Shunsui was actually a really great fight, but they never really took it seriously. So it deserves to be higher, but I can't put it higher. Pretty much. Moving on to B tier. We got some really great fights here. We got Kurapika versus Uvogin. We got Dofi versus Luffy. Obviously a great fight. Toguro versus Yusuke, which is an incredible fight. Hiei versus Moroku, I also love that fight. What else? Excuse me. We got a lot of JoJo's fights in B tier. I think that JoJo's has some good fights, but it's not my favorite fighting. As much as I like JoJo's, the fighting aspect isn't the best part of the show. If you ask me, in my opinion, I like more physicality in the fight than anything else. That's my top priority, more or less. But yeah, B tier is great fights. Just because I put a fight in a B or a C tier doesn't mean I think it stinks, or anything like that. I still think they're good or great, depending on which one we're talking about. But let's move it on to A and S tier. A lot of Bleach fights, a lot of what's it called? Seven Deadly Sins fights. I think those are some of the top anime for fights. A couple of Black Clover fights that I think are just insane. My favorite JoJo fight is actually the end of season 4, or not season, what's it called? Part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable is my favorite JoJo's. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not. A couple of Naruto fights are A tier. Let's look. Oh yeah, we got Luffy versus Lucci. I love that fight. We got Ichigo versus Ulquiorra. Ichigo versus, again, a bunch of Bleach fights. I think Bleach has the best fights in anime, if you ask me, or at least one of the best. Jiren versus what's it called? Goku is a great fight, A tier. I think a lot of the Dragon Ball Z fights honestly aren't that great. Just to be honest, but just because they're so, not only they're dragged out, but there's long periods where nothing happens in the middle of a fight. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, I'm skipping past that. We're just gonna go straight to S tier. Man, I can't see what that top. Oh, that's Saitama versus Boros. One of my favorite. That's definitely the best One Punch Man fight. There's some great fights for a anime where the trope is the guy always wins in one punch. I'm surprised how good some of the fights actually are, because you'd think they would be boring because it's just one punch every time. But anyway, moving on. My favorite Hunter x Hunter fight, one of my favorite fights of all time, Netero versus Meruem. Very cool fight. Ichigo versus what's his name, Aizen. That's a very cool fight. I almost put Ichigo versus Kenpachi in S tier. Really, any Kenpachi fight is pretty much S tier. If we had a Kenpachi versus what's his name, what was that Stern Ritter fought, the imagination guy, Grinny, I can't remember the guy's name. If that was on the freaking template, I would have put it S tier too. Dude, Katakuri versus Luffy is one of my favorite fights of all time. I absolutely loved it. People complain that it's 27 episodes long, and I know I just said something about Dragon Ball Z fights dragging on for too long, but listen, if I wish the Luffy versus Katakuri was 27 more episodes long. I wish there was more episodes of that fight. I wish that fight was still going on. I wish there was hundreds of episodes of that fight. So I don't complain about a good thing. Dragging on isn't always necessarily bad. Well, I guess there's a difference between dragging on and a good thing going for a long time, if that makes any sense. And then also we got Might Guy versus Madara. That's my favorite Naruto fight. Just because he fought the strongest guy in the series and was beating him down with just straight hands, which is my favorite thing in the world. So yeah, that's all I got. What do you think about the tier list? I'm sure there's a lot of people that hate it, but I don't care. I'm the one that makes the rules. I'm the one that makes the list. If you don't like it, that's fine. I guess, it's a difference of opinion. But what do you guys think about the list? Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what kind of tier list do you want me to do next. Also coming out soon, I'm going to be doing anime brackets, anime tournament brackets. I'll probably do that once a week. I'm going to start doing video game walkthroughs again, so